What do you get when a magician walks into a laboratory? You get a classified document that takes about 50 years to become declassified. Literally titled Magician Walks into the Laboratory. You can read all about this, cia.gov/library. I'll leave the link in the video description box. But it describes what I like to call Electro Man. I mean, this guy can send energy into people that they feel for days, and he doesn't even have to touch them. And it also describes how the Kirlians created Kirlian photography that can take images of your ethereal body, of your electric body. And also, what's fascinating about this document is it talks about how they were taking pictures of leaves that looked identical physically, and it would pick up if one had dis-ease before anybody could see any problems in the physical realms. So it's quite fascinating, cutting-edge technology, and I'd actually like to pick up a Kirlian camera. So if there's anybody listening to this podcast, if you can point me in the right direction, because I've had a couple images of myself taken with these Kirlian photographs, and you can clearly see the chakras, you can clearly see the energy that your aura emits and the colors, and then you can link those colors to what they represent, and it's quite fascinating. I would also like to say thank you very much to our sponsors. Make sure to support our sponsors, ladies and gentlemen, and support yourselves. Check out Noble Gold Investments and Noble Bitcoin. If you click the link in the video description box, they are giving out free books right now to Leak Project listeners, how inflation is used against you. And if you want to diversify, if you've done well with your 401k or your IRA, or maybe you haven't done as well as you'd like to, and you want to diversify, if you're looking at the stock market and as high as it is right now, and if you're thinking, man, I don't know how much longer this is going to happen, I want to diversify, but I don't know how, you can call up Noble Gold and Bitcoin Noble Bitcoin. Talk to an expert. They're very nice. They know what they're talking about. And they have some cutting edge programs. You can even turn your IRA into Litecoin and Bitcoin. How cool is that? So check them out. Support our sponsors. Support yourself. All right, now let's get back to this podcast, this program of awesomeness in the conspiracy fringe realms, which is more reality than reality. So, this construction engineer writes this letter describing how a gentleman by the name of Krivoroltov can literally heal people with his hands and send energy and electricity into other people without even touching them, and they can feel it for days. And it's described through these letters right here. This is a 9-page letter. And it gets into pretty good detail how they actually created the Kirlian photograph, the first time it was done, and then it talks about how they did the test with the different leaves. And then they say they can also test organs with these Kirlian photographs to see if there might be dis-ease on the horizon. And I wonder why the medical mafia industrial complex doesn't use more of this technology. Oh, wait, yeah. Obviously, they don't want you healthy, ladies and gentlemen. They want you to continue to pay them on a monthly basis for pharmaceutical drugs. They don't want you healthy. They don't want your spiritual body healthy. They want you to assimilate to their process. So they did multitudes of experiments. The Kirlians have 17 patents, clearly the leaders of this technology. And it talks about how they take their first image and it's fuzzy, and how they're able to take other images of organs, of plants, and see what looks like you take two leaves that look the same with your physical eyes, then you take pictures, and you can see clearly different pictures. You should definitely find, if you ever have an opportunity to take a picture of yourself, if you ever go to a booth and they've got a camera, a Kirlian camera, take a picture and see what your energy body looks like. It's fascinating. It also talks about how Let me read a little bit here. This is page 4 of 9. 3 years ago, late on an autumn evening, a man knocked on the door of the inventors of Mr. and Mrs. Kirlian. His name was A. Kvorotov. He announced who he was. I got to zoom in on this. I can barely see it. He discovered in himself the capacity to be a healer by the method of laying of hands. So, as an example, a patient would come to him and complain of pain in his loins. He let me put my hands there, yeah. It's kind of an interesting analogy there that they use. I mean, no, it wasn't a headache. It wasn't a stomach ache. His balls hurt. Well, Kvorotov concentrates. He goes into a trance. He stretches out his hands and approaches the patient. We just look at it. Don't look at it. Okay, so he approaches the patient. Another instant, and the patient fearfully flinches from the burn. It is literally as if a hot, dry compress had been applied to the loins. This unpleasant sensation does not go away after that for the whole night. Sometimes an invisible heating pad aids with the healing. Wow. Hello. How would you like that opportunity? Kirlian connected Kvorotov into the RF tank circuit by the way of this operation. It's completely painless. Placed the finger under a microscope. The guest looked into the eyepiece and was shaken from the pores and channels of his skin. Protuberances were fiercely billowing. Whole schools of amoeba were creeping from place to place, first merging together into one blazing bonfire and then splitting into pieces. Kvorotov carefully took his finger out, looked at it, nothing, again put his finger under the eyepiece. Then the picture changed radically. Now orange, violet, blue stars were oscillating. You're upset this has changed the electrical state of your organism. And the skin is a kind of mirror that reflects the internal bioelectric processes, Kirlian explained while looking into the microscope. So weeks of strange experiments began in which both the magician and the experimentalist were the subjects. Kvorotov put his hand quite close to Kirlian's head and literally poured hot lead over him. However, he didn't say anything and didn't look into his eyes. This means there cannot even be any talk of hypnosis or the evil eye. The heavy sensation did not leave Kirlian all night, and it was as if his head was on fire. He was trying to think of where the energy could have come from. After all, Kvorotov was not some kind of living generator, and even the guest himself acknowledged that while giving off energy, he did not feel fatigue. I'm out of kombucha. The next day, Kirlian photographed fingers, his own, and that of the magician in the high frequency field with the Kirlian photographs. He could clearly see how the luminescence bent around the biological object separately. Nanu, nanu, nanu. I need to get some glasses, but I don't want to. I don't want to assimilate to that yet. There was no doubt both fingers were charged with electricity of the same sign. But what makes the touch of Kvorotov cause the sensation of heat is unclear. This is just the point sensation. In transmitting heat, one expends energy after all. Sensation can be produced almost without energy by transmitting it simply. Information. And what do the experiments say? Question mark. Kirlian checked the dielectric properties of the skin on Kvorotov's hands. This is the point. The resistance was 3 to 5 times higher than the usual value. So he's Electro-Man. He's Spark Dude. He's Sparky. You should call him Sparky. Of course, the dry, rough skin of the hands of a person occupied with heavy physical labor may have such properties, but after all, the palms of the magician were pink, soft, just like a baby's. It is of interest as to how the guest is charged while being locked up in bathrooms before each seance. The experimentalist photographed the fingers of Kvorotov before his preparation in the bathroom and afterwards. Hello! He really had to go. On the first photograph, there was the conventional distribution of the, and there's some words missing. Interesting how they took some words out. Potentials of a healthy person, while on the second, many potential, then there's something missing there, had vanished. What did they take out? That's interesting. As if the electrical conductivity had been lost, the pattern of the protuberances had likewise changed radically. A gold flame bubbled madly against a black background. So the mechanism by which the healing procedure of the magician operates appears to us to be the following. As Kirlian, the body of any person situated in the Earth's electrostatic field is charged negatively. Since the skin of the fingers and palm of the magician was, as it were, covered with a mutual dielectric glove, a potential of any sign may be induced on it. During this procedure, while healing hands are placed on the head or body of the patient, the electrical charges of the patient's body exercise polarized positive charges that are equal in magnitude but opposite in sign of the glove. An electrical field is formed between the skin of Kvorotof's hands and the skin of the patient. This field has an intensity which increases as the spacing decreases. The electrons and ions situated in the air gap tend to move towards the photoelectrodes. The positive ones move towards the skin of the patient, Kirlian, while the negative ones move towards Kvorotov's hands. The ion flux blows past. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. And at the same time heats the sick organ and stimulates its recovery. In a word, the same thing occurs as in the ionic Charcot shower. You ever had one of those before? Now, de-arsonidalization, probably said that wrong, and other similar methods of electrical healing, which are used extensively in modern medicine, this is what may be assumed for the time being. Much is still understood. It is far from clear as whether or not dielectric plays such an important role in the healing procedure of the magician. After all, the healer, regardless of the apparent complete exposure, steadfastly insists on the purity of his seances. Kirlian repeatedly attempted to repeat the focus of Kvorotov, but unsuccessful. The action of one person on another at a distance via a field so far remains a puzzling phenomena of nature. Recently, professor of Leningrad University, P. Pulyov, demonstrated that our body generates and possibly perceives an electrical field, and concerning the fact that a person senses an electromagnetic field, and an ordinary magnetic field has been known for a long time. The question arises, does not the magician change the information process in the organism of the patient who feels heat through the ether? In order to answer this and other such questions, further investigations that are carried out at a higher level. Ah, man, I can't read today. Unbelievable. This is like my third try, too, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I'm done reading small words. English isn't my first language. This is fascinating. I mean, imagine, here's what I'm seeing. I'm envisioning people like true Jedis that can walk around and find a way to harness the energy that's naturally around them constantly, but absorb it, and then find and focus it on one point, and then release it. You know, focus it in your fingertips, and then literally be like spark, like. Now, you ever see the film Firestarter? That is a good movie. Came out in the early 80s. Drew Barrymore's first film, I think. And, man, I remember watching that when I was just a little kid. just a little kid, and watching how her and her dad were on the run. Her dad could make people do what he told them via mind. You know, he would like focus, okay, you're going to go over there and do this. You're going to go do this. You're going to give me your car. You're going to give me your wallet. And it would hurt his head and he would get a bloody nose, but they would do what he said. And then Drew Barrymore, Firestarter, she could start fires with her mind, and they were a part of some Black Ops program. And they always went to this like house. I remember they were in this huge house, and it was on tons of acreage, you know, horses. It looked like a rich land. It was some type of Alphabet agency, shadow faction, Black Ops project program. And then they were going to take out the dad. They were going to take out Drew Barrymore. They ended up taking out the dad at the end, but Drew Barrymore, wow, just blaze of fire at the end. I wonder how much of that is based off of projects that they've been doing for years. Our abilities that we have been suppressed for thousands of years. Whoever made us, I think that it's a multitude. I think it's a group. You know, the Elohim, the Anunnaki, whoever manipulated us into these physical bodies, do not want us to reach our full potential. Half of them do, half of them don't. Maybe it's not even half of them that want us to. Maybe it's just a few of them. There's some white hats out there. There's some good ones as well that have our best interests at heart. And there's also those that don't. And I'm thinking of this AI technology and the robotics and the stuff we're making now that's way above and beyond what we can do. And we're saying, wait, we need to pull the plug. Otherwise, those things will take us over. Read about the Gnostic texts about how when Adam was created, the first version of Adam, his creators, the archons, y'all the Baoth, and the creator said, uh-oh, we got to do something because now he's greater than we are. And they were like, uh-oh, we're worried about our hegemony. What are we going to do? I'm seeing the same things right now with our technologies. Meet the new boss, same as the old boss. It's this cyclical timeline. Only now, an AI system that we could create that becomes fully self-aware, even if it doesn't, but it thinks it's self-aware and it's doing its best to survive, and it knows that we're going to pull the plug on it if we realize that it is able to communicate outside of our abilities and beyond us. It knows it's going to be turned off, so it does whatever it can to survive. So does it go lawnmower man style and start going through the interwebs and going into different systems? Does it connect to Skynet? There's 6 or 7 generations of Skynet right now. I mean, this is absolutely phenomenal. We have the opportunities if we could find out how to get rid of all this. But most of us have been so genetically tampered with and manipulated from the stuff that's been injected in our bodies, oftentimes from birth, or some people even before birth, when they're, you know, in their mother's womb, and she gets some type of injection from her healthcare professional. It's very disturbing indeed how much manipulation takes place constantly, how much stuff they put in the food and the water, and to keep us at a state of suppression so that we can't evolve to a higher level. Because if we could, we would probably be... There's all sorts of skiers walking past my condo right now. I'm like watching them, man. Anyway, they're like, they can probably hear me talk about this stuff too, and they're like, wow, we've got Leak Project right next door. This is insane. I'm going to have SWAT teams coming by. They're like, you think for yourself too much. You will not assimilate. You must come with us for re-indoctrination education system. Anyway, fascinating, ladies and gentlemen. Use your mind. The mind is the mightiest of them all. Use your mind. It's a gift from God. It's a gift from the divine. It is a true gift from the divine that he gave you to use to its fullest potential. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to be the change that you want to see? Go to leakproject.com. Become a premium member today. Over 1,600 podcasts. Many are exclusive to Leak Project. Downloadable, ad-free, streamable. Go to youtube.com/Clandestine Time Lord. Hit the subscribe button. Some people sometimes will accidentally, somehow they're unsubscribed, so make sure you're still subscribed. If you've missed some of the shows, that you'll get access to the live shows as well. Have some great podcasts coming up here. I'm going somewhere out here in Utah that is like considered one of the most paranormal spots on the planet. So wait for that, ladies and gentlemen. Coming soon to a TV or computer screen near you.